Hey there, welcome back again to our channel, Programmer's Choice. Now let us start our task to call the API and access the information and then create a UI to display that information. What I mean by this is we are going to utilize Fetch API, the native JavaScript one. So that means we can call this API, our product API, get information. Now we are going to have that information. We are going to store that information to some type of state and then display it. Inside this component, I'll be creating a new file by the name product list.js, and inside this we are going to do everything. I also need to import this here. Let me product list. So when I get back here, product list. Let me run my server. So yes, it is showing product list. Inside this, I'm going to do all my tasks. Inside this, I'm going to do all my tasks, which is to utilize our state or all the concept that we are going to learn in this whole section. So the first simple thing is we need to call the fetch API to get the information of all the stuff. So the first thing we can do is we can call the fetch API and demonstrate our product inside this return. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my const, I'm going to have my product and then set products. So this is going to be list of products that I'm going to utilize and show here. By default, it is going to be empty array. Now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to utilize fetch. This is going to take our URL. So let me copy this one, get back here. Now this is going to be send us a response. And if you remember, we can use dot then. Here I'm utilizing the chaining. So here I'll get the response. And then I need to get in the form of JSON, response.json. And then I need to utilize the data and let's say console.log and get the data. Awesome. Let me save this, get back here, and you can see I got this information. And if I open, I have all the four products. Now this looks fine. Let me do one more thing. Add a console.log here. Here I'm going to go with my products. So it's easy because at the end of the day, our task is to get information, everything inside our products. Get back here. You can see I got an empty array above my products. And here I have information about my data. So what I can do is I can store all the information inside our product using our same products, and then I can just use product to display everything here. Let me copy this one, edit here. Remember, I have not saved this. Remember, don't try this by saving this. Your system is going to hang. Don't try this. I'm using 64 GB system and still you are going to see what is going to happen right now. So what we are going to do here is we are going to call this set products, send this information, and then what happens is when we just save our or update the state, it is going to reevaluate everything from top to bottom. You remember we render things So when we update any type of state, it re-evaluates itself. So that means it is going to console.log, it is going to call the API again, set the product again, console again, then call the API again, set the products again. Now, since we set products again, it is going to re-evaluate. In the process of re-evaluating, we call this again, and it is going to be an infinite loop. Let me show you. Let me save this one. Get back here. Here you can see it is going infinite loop. It is going to be, it is not going to stop. So first I need to undo this step. Let me save now. Let me check if it is saved or not. It is still going, so we need to stop the server. You can imagine it is still going. So yes, it is stopped now. So this is a major issue. Things are much better now. All the calls are stopped because we are not calling or updating a product. So it's not re-evaluating everything. Let's get let's get here again and talk about what we just did. So what happened is when we try to update any type of state, it re-evaluate entire component and it also re-render the stuff that requires to have a new information. But at the time of re-evaluation, we call this API basically, and it perform all these steps. The problem is now we are inside an infinite loop. Currently, we are using this free API that we created. Suppose if this was a paid API, if we are paying any company to use their service, this is going to cost a lot. Because you can see, we literally did we literally did some thousand of calls in a single minute. To restrict that, we have something called we something have use effect. So when we are dealing side effect things, we use effect. So what use effect do is it gave us a power to call something once at the time of mounting or at the time of loading, or call it again when we want or when we have some change. So let's go to the documentation. You will have a quick idea about what I'm trying to say. You will get a quick idea about. Don't worry, I'm going to show it. The new documentation is currently under construction, so we have referred this the previous one. So what we need to do is we need to utilize use effect and whatever the thing that we need to take care like this, we keep them inside use effect. So what use effect do is it's just a method, a simple method which takes two information. The first is the function that we need to call to do certain task. It can be a fetch thing or anything else which is inside this whole code block. And the second thing is when we need to run this. Do we need to run this once? Do we need to run it twice? Multiple times? Or do we need to take care of any other dependency? So we need to pass the dependency list in. So this is the first argument that we need to pass, and this is the second. Okay, yeah. Now inside this code block, we can perform anything that we want. For example, I'm going to say console.log mounted. Let me save, run my server. Let me refresh. And here you can see I got mounted twice. Awesome. There's one more thing that we are not going to utilize right now, but we have the option to return. and it is, and it can return anything like console unmounted. Let me save, get back here again, refresh, mounted, unmounted. Yes. So that's how this works. Basically, we have a return statement. It will call it by the end. We don't need to use this right now. Our focus is to understand use effect. So use effect will be called once when our dependency is empty. So that means anything we want to do right now, we will do it inside here. So suppose we want to have fetch. We are going to do all the fetch task inside this use effect because it will call only once. Yep, you heard it right. We call this, we have this information, we try to set the product. That's it. Now next time, if we are going to re-evaluate this component, this will not be called because the dependency is not there. If you try to add any type of dependency, it will see if that is changed or not. For example, if I have something like, let's say maybe I have a count. For no reason, I am taking this as 0 and I'm having dependency as count here. And in future, if this count is going to change, this use effect is going to call this function. So if we have any type of other information, we can have our console, we can have other function, anything. If count is changed, that means that dependency is going to change. So we are going to call this again. So that is the meaning of this dependency. And if it is empty, that means at the time of mounting this, at the time of evaluating this for the first time, loading this page, we call this. Let me save, get back here, try to clear this out. So let me clear this out, refresh again. So yes, it is working fine. So that's how use effect help us to have a function that can be called once or called multiple times if we create any dependency. And in the next lecture, let us try to understand this more with the other example and also create a simple UI with the information that we are trying to have, which is data. Now, why I'm storing this information in product? So I can access this information inside my JSX. Otherwise, I can console it, I can have it in our variable, but as soon as I'm out of the function, the variable scope is empty. So I need to store inside state because state can be accessed anywhere inside our component. So that's the reason we are using state. Okay, that's great. So let's continue with the UI in the next lecture. Thank you.